Take courage when the road is long. Don't ever forget you are never alone. I want you to live forever underneath the sky so blue. I want you to live forever underneath the sky so blue. I want you to live forever underneath the sky so blue.
Good afternoon and welcome to Selection Sunday. I'm Chris Kennedy, joined here by Howard Samura. We're live at the Langley Event Center, streaming on TFSE.tv this afternoon. Here we go, Howard. 64 teams in the next hour.
That's a lot of teams, Chris. 4 brackets, definitive themes, I think, have emerged as we've seen the draws this morning in each of those 4 tiers. It makes it exciting to see the bare bones script of what we're going to see over the next 4 days starting Wednesday for sure.
Absolutely. And we're coming off, having junior girls, AA girls, AAA girls wrapped up last night, junior boys before it. We got another 4 days of great basketball ahead of us.
Yeah, and we just finished an incredible last few days here at the LEC. Starting with that junior boys tournament, great to see in Burnaby South, a big winner there. And of course, the girls wrapping up yesterday. So many close games in the Final Four round of the championships, all that stuff. Great entertainment. If it matches this week, I think we're really in for a treat here with these 4 tiers.
Well, we're going to get right to the draw, and we're going to start with our 1A draw. So we're going to look at our first group of teams in the 1A draw, and we'll start with our number 1 seed in the tournament, and that is Ron Pettigrew Christian. They're our defending champs, and they go against St. Andrews on their first game, day 1.
Yeah, and it's, hey, this is really neat. What a story Ron Pettigrew was last year. The Lions, obviously Ron Pettigrew himself, and some former players killed in a tragic accident many years ago, and the fact that his daughter and his grandson played on that team that won the championship, tremendous. So many of those players are back, including that guy, Garrett Tower, Francis Obita, Mej Fernandez, Lance Gavino, all these guys, main rotation players last year. This Lions team was 21-2. Their only losses to Camrose, Alberta, and to Salmon Arm this year. And to have a North Central team as a number 1 seed, I think, in any of these draws really talks about our province.
They were a little bit of a surprise last year, but wire to wire, a number 1 team all season.
All season long. The team to beat here, and if you watch them play at the LEC in that 1A final last year, what a group. They found their chemistry at just the right time, and it's carried over an entire season. So they will get St. Andrews, a team that really didn't play a lot of games this year. They're Vancouver Island number 2. It's a big, big test for the Sabres out of St. Andrews. Liam Keane, Michael Keane, Gigi Retta are the players to watch there on that St. Andrews team, but clearly Ron Pettigrew is the favorite, I think, in the 16-team draw.
All right, now looking at the other 2 teams that make up that first quadrant, and that is number 8 seed Duncan Christian, and they'll go up against number 9 Calsa in their first game.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting. First off, Calsa Lions let us know they are gathered en masse. They're watching here. They're super excited. We'll get to them in just a second. Duncan Christian are the Vancouver Island champions. Their head coach, Jim Bransma, beat St. Andrews by 12 in the Vancouver Island final. So a quality team there. Mike Bransma, Matt Bransma, and Adam Capitan are the 3 main guys on that team, averaging collectively over 40 points a game. So they are the 3 guys that the Calsa Lions are going to have to try and stop. Calsa, Fraser Valley number 3, 19-11. They're coached by Doug Wong, a former Killarney Cougar under Tom Tagami from many years ago. First time ever for the Calsa Lions at the BC Championship. They're super excited. Jaskirat Sandhu, Harkirat Bangu, and Amrit Mangat are the 3 guys on that team. All these guys averaging well into double figures. Mangat, a 6'2" forward, 19 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks a game, one of their star players. It should be a very, very entertaining matchup. And you look at the seed numbers, I think that'll be a really good game on the opening day.
All right, that's our first 4 teams. On to our next group of teams. Number 4 seed is Credo Christian, and they go up against number 13 Fraser Lake.
Fraser Lake, we'll start with them. They're the Cougars. They're 17-4 on the season, and of course these guys do a lot of barnstorming, a lot of traveling in that North Central zone. North Central actually has a few berths here. They're North Central number 2. The 2 guys to talk about there are twins on this team, Daryl and Randy Fair. It's only their second time to the BCs in 18 years, and this is where I started my newspaper career, way up there in that area, Houston, Smithers, Fraser Lake area. Very, very good basketball being played up there. And of course, they're going to be playing, as we said, Credo Christian. The team out of Langley, Fraser Valley, number 2. A guy to watch there, Levi Leyenhorst, 6'5". He's a 6'5" point guard. This kid averages 25 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists a game. Ruben Sikma as well, up in the 15-point a game neighborhood. So I think, again, Credo Christian goes in there as an experienced team, experienced program down here at the BCs, and goes into that game as a big favorite.
All right, and our final 2, actually final 3 teams we have to talk about right now, and that's our number 5 seed. They're Kelowna Christian, and they actually go up against either Deer Lake School or Fernie. We say this tournament starts on Wednesday, but it actually will start on Tuesday.
Yeah, at 1:30 p.m. game, Tuesday at the Field House here. So Tuesday in the Field House at the LEC at 1:30, Deer Lake of Burnaby will take on Fernie. So it's a Lower Mainland versus Kootenay wild card game to get into the main draw of 16. Officially, they're going to count it as both teams being in this tournament. Deer Lake, obviously, I think has got a lot more experience just in terms of getting close to being in this tournament. Fernie, if they happen to lose, they're still going to get a bunch of games being scheduled for them. So they'll get their full 4 games down here if they can't make it into the main draw. So that's going to be the story there. Fernie, Santi Quiroga, Clay Birch are their 2 guys. Quiroga's a 6'3" center. An exchange student out of Spain, so he's going to be one of the Fernie players for Kelowna Christian to watch. Kelowna Christian, though, is a very experienced team. The 3 seniors on this team have been to the Provincials 3 straight times. They won it all 2 years ago, and all 3 of these guys, Cruz Anderson, Carter Martins, and Ethan Dick, were all on the team under Coach Tim Martins. 20-7, 5 of those losses came against Quad A schools. So Kelowna Christian, championship pedigree, and I think really, as Okanagan number 2, a real strong favorite in that game.
All right, so that's our first half of the draw, and we look at that. Ron Pettigrew Christian, obviously probably the team to beat on that side. Both Credo Christian, as you talk about, Kelowna Christian with their schedule that they've played, also have a chance to make it their way through that side of the draw.
They certainly do, and you know what? As we say, Ron Pettigrew, wire to wire number 1, but there are some worthy foes there waiting for them, especially in that bottom part of the quadrant with Credo, as you say, in Kelowna Christian.
All right, and looking at now at the other side of the draw, and we will start with our number 2 seed. That's BC Christian Academy, and they go up against number 15 Northside Christian on day 1.
And Northside Christian, we don't have much information about that team. They are the number 15 seed, and BC Christian is the big favorite here. They're Fraser Valley Championships. Gib Hines, the coach there. They have 3 pretty exciting players here. Cody Dowell is a kid, the Fraser Valley MVP, 25.7 rebounds, 4 steals a game. He's their senior point guard. Zach Kuzik, a 6'1" player, just an incredible 3-point shooter. And Quinton Onyemordi, I hope I pronounced that right, a 6-footer, but a real big wide body presence for this BC Christian Academy team, and one of the favorites to win it all, number 2 seed.
They're one of those teams that is watching us right now and waiting to see who they play. And as we say, the first day they get Northside Christian on day 1. Looking at the other 2 teams in this quadrant, and it's Bulkley Valley Christian versus Similkameen.
Yeah, and Bulkley Valley Christian, interesting. They're Northwest number 1. They were 12-6 for Coach Chris Steenhoff this year. This team, Houston Christian, apparently, from what I've been told, melded with them. So they kind of brought the 2 schools together, and I think a couple of players from that Houston Christian program joined Bulkley Valley this season. Nathan Steenhoff, these are all grade 11s. Nathan Steenhoff is a 5'9" kid who averages 32 points, 7 assists, and 8 steals a game. He's been lighting it up. See how he does here at the Provincials. Simon Lockie, 6'5" post, 17 points, 12 rebounds, and Noah Delage, 12 points a game, a real defensive presence for Bulkley Valley Christian. Similkameen out of Karamios, they're Okanagan number 3, and Okanagan gets a lot of bursts here. Sasha Zebrov and Andaru West are their 2 top players. I love the quote from the head coach, Yuri Zebrov. We need to play Karamias basketball. So we get to see Karamias basketball.
All right.
I like that.
All right, there we are. We've got 4 teams left to talk about in the 1A draw. Next up is our 3 seed, Heritage Christian, and they go up against number 14 from West Vancouver, Mulgrave.
Yeah, the Mulgrave Titans, and we'll get to them in a second. But Heritage Christian off the top, 18-3 this year. Colton Tripke, the head coach there. This school, 25 years old, Heritage Christian in Kelowna, first time ever to the BC. So celebrating, they're watching us here today, and yeah, it's exciting for their players. They're led by Sam Bell, 21 points a game, Ben Robideau, 16.2 points a game, and Raymond Barrett at almost 16 points a game. So those 3 guys have really carried the load right through the Okanagan Championship final. They beat Kelowna Christian by 11 in that zone final championship to earn that Okanagan number 1. And Mulgrave, a really young team out of West Vancouver, their 3 top players are all grade 11s, David Suey, Tim Freewen, and John Tagavi. Tagavi, Freewen, each averaging 10 points a game, Suey at 15 a game. So those are the guys that are going to be on the radar for the opposition. They come out as house sound number 1.
All right, and our final 2 teams to talk about in the 1A draw, number 6, Sparwood, going up against number 11, King David.
And Sparwood, we don't have a lot of information about the Sparwood Spartans. Are coached by Pete Templin, but they are the Kootenay champs, and coming into this game, we're facing a King David team last year. They won the Lower Mainland this year. For head coach David Amram, last year losing out to Deer Lake, I believe it was in the last ditch berth to get into the tournament. So they get here. It's their first ever time at the BC Championships for King David out of Vancouver, so good for them. Elon Chark at 17 points and 11 rebounds. Sonny Khalifa, 12 points a game. Josh Alto, Ben Munt, real defensive presence, are the top players for King George. So good on the King David team. Apologies for getting into the provincial draw.
All right, so there we have it. Those are our 16 teams in the 1A. We got Ron Pettigrew. They look like the favorites. What's interesting always about 1A is you have some of these teams in the Lower Mainland and the Fraser Valley tested against 2A, 3A, even 4A teams sometimes, and then you have teams that you don't know as much about who come in, whether those are from the Kootenays or Vancouver Island or the Okanagan. Probably more likely you're going to see a 13/4 or a 12/5 on day 1 than you will in some of those other teams.
And that's what happened last year with the Pettigrew situation and the big run that they made. And it's such a huge geographic expanse. You've got great teams from zones around the province. They get more representation than just one entry into this tournament. So you do have quality in a really expanded range of this huge province of ours. So very tough to be always playing each other too. So as Pettigrew, I mean, they didn't even play anybody from down here really this year. So you really don't know, and that's why this is the one bracket where the seeds can get thrown all over the place and you just don't know what you're going to get.
All right, that's 1A. We're going to turn our attention right away to our 2A draw. Now 2A, it's been Brentwood College. It's kind of their year, hasn't it, Howard?
Brentwood College has been an absolute powerhouse. You're right about that, Chris. And really, you look at what they do and what they have as their team. They're so deep on that roster, and just an amazing thing to watch this team under Blake Gage. Yeah.
Sure, and so on that day 1, they're the number 1 seed, and they are going to go up against number 16, Prince Charles. So say some more about Brentwood.
Well, Brentwood College 25-2 this year. So last 3 years, 1 spot shy of getting to the BCs, but it all came together this year. We mentioned Blake Gage as the head coach there. This team, 12 deep, 6 to 8 players are into double digits a game. We'll mention 3 of those guys. Aaron Shaluga, the point guard, Cole Hickey, the center, and Ender McDuff, their 6th man. They call this kid McBuckets.
McBuckets,
That. Yeah, that's a great name.
I might look for that on varsityletters.ca this week. I might see a story on that.
McBuckets, really a cool name there. But they've played at such a high level this season, and really once they kind of ascended to number 1, I think have been, clearly the number 1 team in this province at 2A, have done a great job. Brentwood College out of Mill Bay, only team in BC with no nickname. I believe they still don't have an. If they do, let me know what it is, because last time I was at Brentwood College, I asked them, they took pride in the fact they didn't have a nickname.
And they go up against Prince Charles on day 1.
Yeah, they're the Comets out of Creston, the Kootenay number 1, 14-4 this year. A pretty good team. They beat Selkirk by about 25 points in the Kootenay AA final. So some players to watch there: Mark Armstrong, Davis Nelson, Jacob Dumas, 2 forwards and a guard there who have been their leaders this season. So Prince Charles in tough against a really, really good Brentwood College team in the first round.
All right, and the other 2 teams in this quadrant we're going to talk about is number 8, and that's Canby out of Richmond. They go up against number 9, Clarence Fulton out of Vernon.
Yeah, and you're always looking at that 8-9 as a quality match. If you get those seeds right, you're going to get a great game on the first day. I think they did. The Canby Crusaders, Lower Mainland number 2, 16-12 this year for head coach Brian Meyer. Zach Hassan and Kevin Dillon each averaged 20 points a game. Kyle Condola, 17.4. They're all seniors, and I think that really counts for a lot here. They're going to bring up a bunch of underclassmen as well, 4 grade 10s, a grade 9, and a grade 8. Coach Meyer just wants these guys to be around this environment to see what it's like, and I think that can really pay some dividends.
Well, and that Canby team, they've played mostly 3A schools all year. Everybody else in Richmond, basically, they played in so Steveston, London, we're going to talk about them later. They're in their league. McNair, McMath, Richmond High, all really tough teams. And so they're well tested as they get here.
Well tested, and you see they did take some losses to get better, 16-12. But as you say, played a really good schedule to get to where they are. Clarence Fulton out of Vernon, Okanagan number 3. Vernon was pretty competitive this season. Okanagan was pretty competitive. Clarence Fulton at 21-9, as we say. Dale Olson, the head coach there, and the guys to mention are all grade 11. So Nathan Banga, almost 18 a game. Isaac Olson, 16-9. In terms of the points and rebounds, and Caden Doyle at 16.1. A young team at their core. Great experience for them here, but a chance to win it in an 8 versus 9.
And another school with a long basketball tradition. Clarence Fulton at the 3A or the 2A level have been here many times before, and they're back here again this year.
They are back again, and Okanagan gets a lot of bursts here at this tier, so really competitive to try and get those bursts, and they come in as Okanagan 3. Obviously, they have battled just to get here, because there's 2 other teams that finished above them in their zone tournament.
All right, the next game we're going to talk about is our number 4 seed. That's G.W. Graham, and they go up against number 13, George Elliott, on day 1.
And this will be an interesting one, too. G.W. Graham is going through a phase in their school with their football and basketball programs where they've got some great athletic talent. And there's a crossover in terms of the sports, too. But some of the guys we can mention here, Gabe Manis is their point guard, and this kid is just flat out a scorer. 32 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists a game. They get 9 rebounds a game from their point guard, who's a senior. Curtis Comita, their shooting guard, 18 points a game. John Steele, 11 points and 16 rebounds a game. And Jivon Jande, a guy who just is a rebounding machine for this GW Graham team. They're 25-5 on the season. They won the Fraser Valley 2A, and I think that's a pretty darn good basketball team. But the team they're facing is just one of these unusual teams. They've got this kid, Finn McCarthy, who might have been the best senior boys volleyball player in the province. He's 6'7", and he's dunked it 44 times this season. He's got a full ride to UBC, was like the number 1 or number 2 guy in their recruiting class for volleyball. He can really play basketball as well, and that is a wild card situation to be getting a kid like Finn McCarthy. Keenan Wild, the 6'4" forward, and Justin Batty is actually their team scoring leader at 17 a game. They add Nick LaFontaine, who was on the BC under-16 team, call him up from the JVs. And George Elliott out of Lake Country, I think, is going to be an exciting team to watch. It's their first time in 26 years being to the tournament. The last time they were there, they won it all in 1991 when the tournament was played at Lambrick Park.
It's always, you're nervous of going against a volleyball team here because they are late starters, right? Volleyball season goes late. They pick it up not really till after Christmas, and they're often peaking just as they arrive here at Provincials. They could be a team to watch in this tournament.
They could be, and some size there against a GW Graham team that loves, obviously, with Manis to play at high tempo and do that kind of stuff. So it should be a really interesting matchup. Obviously, GW Graham, as Fraser Valley 1, goes in as the favorite, but we'll see how that one turns out.
Another game that I like on the first day is this next one. Number 5, Lambrick Park, going up against number 12, St. Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, exactly. Lambrick Park, coached by one of the most decorated. In fact, I think he's got the most BC High School varsity provincial championship titles, and that's Ed Summers. His sons, Austin and Kelvin, have been doing this since they were in like the 9th or 10th grade as key members and high scorers on this team. Kelvin Summers last year tore an ACL, only played in 1 game. This year he scored as many as 38. His twin brother Austin, 32 was his game high this season. These guys can fill it up. They've got Zeke Holt, a monster rebounder. They lost to that really good Brentwood team in the final in the Vancouver Island 2 for Summers, but it's their 7th straight trip. They know what this whole environment is about. And they're going to face a St. Thomas Aquinas team that they won a lot of games to win the house sound. 21-9. Jim Kelly is the head coach there, and the coach's son, Michael Kelly, is averaging 33 points a game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Matteo Botticelli, 14 points and 9 rebounds, and Chad Steverding, a forward at 12 points a game. They lost to Seacove, at the house sounds. Then they had to win 3 straight. They had to, including back-to-back over Seacove, just to get here. So this team battled. They're battle ready, and they'll get a real test in their opening round game from Lambrick Park.
All right, that's our first half of the AA draw. We're going to take our look now at the other 8 teams, and we're going to start with our number 2 seed. This is also a team that's has had a very, very good season. That is King George out of Vancouver. They
have. The King George Dragons, Darko Kulik is their head coach. He's done such a great job in just creating this program and really a former grad of the program, takes so much pride in what the Dragons are all about. Lower Mainland number 1. This is a 2A team that beat a ton of 3A teams this year. They're an extremely talented team. The hardest name in the province to pronounce, but I've said it so many times now that I can do this. Yoel Teklahemanad.
All right.
So he's the grade 12 who averages 32.1 points a game, 13.7 rebounds, almost 8 assists a game. He's had 3 50-point games, 13 triple doubles this season. I saw this kid at the Mainlands, and he's just an incredible player to watch. Kyle Guerrero as well is a terrific 3-point shooter, a clutch 3-point shooter, 18 a game, and Mohab Mundadi, grade 11 points and 10 assists per game, almost 5 steals a game too. The real family approach there from King George. They're one of the tournament favorites here.
And they got Smithers on the first day.
Yeah, the Griffins, Northwest number 1, are in tough on the first day. Quinn Fraser, Justin DeJong, and Jericho Gelatin are there. Players that are going to have to play the game of their lives if they're going to make a dent against this King George team, which has been really dominant, obviously, all season.
All right, and the other 2 teams in that quadrant are number 7 Westside, and they have Abbey Christian on day 1.
Yeah, Abbey Christian beating Delview out of North Delta 86-79 to get here. They're Fraser Valley number 3, but it's obviously under Keith Stewart, a team that's perennially at the Provincials. Just a real championship environment around that group. Justin Van Dorp, their senior, 19 and a half games, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, and Levi Yusa, a 6'8" center who averages 25 points and 14 rebounds a game, a real game changer with his ability to block shots as well. So Abbotsford Christian will come into this thing and battle Westside. That's a really good Westside team that Ryan Porter has. The Okanagan champs, George Elliott couldn't even challenge them in the Okanagan final. It was 84-42. This is a very good basketball team. Spencer Ledoux, 20 and 10 kid. Nathan Strank at 15 a game, and Jake Horvath, the guard, a senior guard at 10 points a game. Westside coming in here after a battle-tested schedule and coming out on top in the Okanagan as well.
Always enjoy the Wundas as a nickname. One of the best nicknames, isn't it?
It's got to be top 3, top 4.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't ever change that, guys.
All right, and on to our final quadrant, and our number 3 seed, the St. Michael's University School, and they go up against number 14, Nechako Valley.
Yeah, and this Nechako Valley team, the North Central number 1, is actually, they played a ton of games. When you think they're in Vanderhoof, and they got to really hoof it to get some games, they played 37 games. They were 26-11. So obviously they knew they had a good team this year. They're really battle tested, these kids. Jonathan Mueller, Hunter Brophy, and Tyken Kilpatrick are their top players. St. Michael's University School, though, one of the model programs at 2A. Of course, Steve Nash's alma mater, and Ian Hidlay, the head coach there. Their last 3 years, second in 2014, first in 2015, second in 2016. They've been in the last 3 finals. 8-2 in league play. Only 2 losses came to Oak Bay, the Quad A Power. We should mention Ryan Hinson, the 6'1" shooting guard, 18 a game. Jameson Schultz Franco, 10 points, 6 assists a game. And Bryn Hayduck as well, a 6'3" forward. All key members of the St. Michael's University School team. So very good team. They happen to have Brentwood College in that Vancouver Island League and lost to them in the semifinals. But SMU-S is always a factor in this tournament.
All right, and they have Nechako Valley on that first day.
Oh, Nechako Valley, yeah. As we mentioned, the Vanderhoof team. So that will be a especially tough one for Nechako Valley.
And our final game in the 2A draw has number 6 Pacific Academy going up against number 11 St. Pat's.
Yeah, and in Pacific Academy, the Fraser Valley number 2, 21-12 on the season for the head coach Joel Ashby. Their top players we'll mention here, there's actually 4 of them because there's a pair of twins on this team that are very good. But Josh Blast, 26 points a game as a 6-foot senior guard. The twins are Ethan and Kian Atkins. They're both 6'4", they're both grade 11s, and they both contribute a huge amount to this program. And Tolu Akinro, a kid who broke his ankle in December, comes back in January, late January, 6 of 7 from three-point range. He comes back. He's one of their top shooters and a guy who can really light it up in a hurry for the Breakers. St. Pat's average height 5'8". 5'8".
You know they're going to press you, don't you? They're going to get up and press.
Yeah, Nap Santos, one of the all-time great guys in the world of BC high school basketball. They played up-tempo. Derek Gonzalez, Alex Pineda, and Josh Debut are their top 3 players, I would think. And as Lower Mainland 3, they've played a tough schedule. That could be a really entertaining game and a clash of styles there on the first day.
All right, so there you have it. Those are our 16 teams there in the 2A draw. Of the different tiers, probably in this one, there is a more clear number 1 than there are in some of the other ones, aren't there?
I think so. Brentwood College is really, I think, deserves that number 1 seed. I don't do the 2A rankings, but I look at them and I see Brentwood's been there for much of the year. but the rest of that island contingent is really, really strong. And I think King George as well is just a superb team. They are the kind of team that you want to buy the popcorn and watch them because they're so exciting on the floor. So a clash of different kinds of styles here. There could be more parity than people think, but you've got to look at Brentwood as the favorite going in.
All right, we're 32 down. We have 32 to go. We're going to take a short break here, and then we're going to come back, and we got 3A, and then we have 4A. You'll probably, in the next 30 seconds, put something up on varsityletters.ca, the place that you go for content when it comes to the BCs, and we'll be back in just a minute with our nether draws. All right, we are back here live now with the 3A draw up next. And we talked about maybe a clear number 1 and 2A. If the story of 3A is probably the tier with the most parity throughout.
There is so much parity, and whoever did this draw, this was a tough one to do, I think. We were looking at comparative scores before we came on the air, Chris, and there were so many. They beat them, but then they lost to them. If you look at the top part of this top 10, these teams are pretty evenly matched.
Well, what you have in 3A is you get 4 teams out of both of the island, out of the Lower Mainland, and out of the Fraser Valley, and they all seem to have played each other in all these tournaments throughout the season, haven't they? Right?
They really have, especially at the Chancellor, I think, which really talked about bringing all the best teams together, and the results will make you pull your hair out because you can't figure out who the number 1 seed is. It's really, really tough.
And you look at a place like the Lower Mainland this year, where there were probably 7 teams who had been in the top 10 all year, and only 4 ended up making it here. These are battle-tested teams that made it. They've played each other. They're going to play teams that they've seen 2, 3, maybe even 4 times during the season.
Yeah, and not so much in the first round, as you say, but once you get past that stage, and there is even just a tremendous opening round game here. We'll get to it in a second, but boy, it is full of parity and a real tough draw to put together.
All right, we're going to start again with our number 1 seed, and there's probably there's some people wondering on this one, who will end up being the number 1 seed, and it is Rick Hansen is the number 1 seed, and they go up against Carey High, number 16 on day 1.
I think I heard that distant cheer from Abbotsford going up in the team celebrating, but the Rick Hansen Hurricanes, Steve Twell, their head coach, played Robert Bateman, their crosstown rivals, in the Fraser Valley Finals on Friday. Well, the girls' tournaments were going on here. They were playing their Fraser Valley tournament. This is a really strong basketball team. 25-3 on the season. They beat Bateman by 18 in the final. Josh Dillon, a kid who averages almost 30 points a game, is their point guard. Amon Dillon, no relation there, averaging 18 a game. And Rohit Dillon, who is Amon Dillon's cousin, is their defensive stopper. So we got 3 Dillons to watch out there for the Carey High Thais out of Campbell River. But Rick Hansen, a great season to be Fraser Valley 1.
All right, they go up against, from Campbell River, Carey High on that first day.
22 years it's been since they've been at the big dance, and here they come. Wow. So congratulations to them getting out of there as that final seed on Vancouver Island, the Island 4 seed. So Jonah Shankar, their leading scorer, Quinn Nelson, their point guard, and Hunter Coral, their senior big man. The other 2 guys are grade 11s. You know what? Getting to this is a huge experience. We want to get the program back on track. Getting to the provincials at 3A, no easy task, especially on Vancouver Island, and they get there, so good for them.
Boy, it's 22 years. You and I both can probably remember there were some good Carey High teams that came to the 3A tournament down to the Agronome.
Yeah, there were, and that takes us back to the vintage days. So that's really cool to see them back.
All right, and in the other 2 teams in this quadrant, you have a very good St. Thomas More Collegiate in 8, and they get number 9 Wellington in day 1.
Yeah, so it's Lower Mainland 3 STM against Vancouver Island number 2 Wellington. This one is going to be a good one. St. Thomas More has really, embraced the 3A, and this is their 6th trip in 7 years to the provincials. the fourth year since the new 3A tier started playing here. STM's been here every single year. Aaron Mitchell's team, we've talked about this kid, Cam Morris. He's going to UBC next season. 6'6" guard, averaging 25 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals a game. Richard Galicia, their 5'11" guard, at 15 a game. And Sejon Shokar, the 6'5", grade 11 forward, averaging basically a double-double. St. Thomas More has played everybody. They've had some great results. They've lost some of them. They're going in at number 8. Wellington, out of Nanaimo, Luke Letham, their head coach. Their fourth straight trip to the BCs as well. Both these teams know what it's all about. Alex Staniforth, he's a 6'4" forward, a senior, 22 points, 7 rebounds, headed to VIU next year, a great CCAA program. Ryder Jenks, 18 points a game. And Brooks Brackey, I hope I pronounced that right. Boy, this kid with his ankle tape wobbling out on the floor goes out there in the islands and hits 5 threes in a game in a big situation for them. So clutching up there for Wellington. 8 versus 9, you always know you're going to get a good game there. It should be a tremendous one.
You know, and talking of good games, the next game, I know this is one you're looking at on day one. This is an interesting one for sure. You've got the finalist from last year, and then who have most of their players back. The number 4 seed, Steveston London, and they go up against number 13, Mark Isfeld, on the first day.
Yeah, and you know what? I like it because, you know, one will try and dictate the tempo so much, and that's Mark Isfeld out of Courtney. Tom Elwood, a veteran coach, and you know what? When Tom and I were chatting by email, what kind of team do you have? Tempo control team, tough man defense. He gets the most out of his guys. This year, Logan Benninger, Brett Woods, and Matawali is one of their other players. In their league, they're 30-0 the last 5 seasons, 6-0 this year. Vancouver Island, number 3, they're 23-7 overall. They really, like a Maple Ridge under Dockendorf, will try and do and really control the tempo of the game. And they're going to get Steveston London, who are just a fantastically talented team. Lower Mainland 2 under Mike Stoneberg, 20-8 this year, played everybody. Fardas Amek is just an amazing player.
They're going to want that ball inside on day one, eh?
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, perhaps Mark Isfeld can't stop, but I don't know. I just love the coaching matchup there. Fardas averaging 29 points, 19 rebounds, no typo there, and almost 7 blocks a game. Zach Cantwell, that kid is one of the best point guards I've seen in the province this year. Love to watch him play. Ahmed Mohammed as well, 6'1" guard, averaging 13 a game. And Isaiah Hunter, who's really filled in so many different spots this year. Love watching that kid play as well. Coach Stoneberg's words to me, practicing at different times to get ready for the draw. So what time are they playing?
Well, they actually get 5:15, so he didn't have to get up for the 8 o'clock practices.
So
5:15, fairly regular time.
He's got his guys ready anyway. That's how much this means to these guys, right? I think it's great, and I think that's going to be a real fun matchup to watch on day one.
All right, and they go in the same quadrant, and they got number 5 Bodwell and number 12 Maple Ridge.
We just spoke about Maple Ridge, who under Ken Dockendorf, who just continues to coach and just what he represents to all of us in the province here is just terrific as a longtime coach. Fraser Valley, number 3, 25-14, so a ton of games. They played 39 games this year. He's got
That's typical Maple Ridge, Ken Dockendorf basketball, isn't it?
Drill everything, you know. And so Tristan Kumont, 6'3" guard, a senior, averaging 23 points and 12.5 rebounds per game. These are low-scoring games. So you look at the points that both Tristan Burke Brusow at 20 a game and Will Chartrand at 13 points and 12.5 rebounds a game do the majority of the scoring for this basketball team. And they're going to get a Bodwell team under Johnson Chu, who won the House Sound. But, you know, these are younger players. 3 grade 11s are their top scorers. Canberk Gungor, 17, 11, and 9. So almost a triple-double a game from a 6'9" small forward. Second, Topak, averaging 27 points and 17 rebounds a game. He's a 6'5" post player. And Yagiz Torer, 13 points and 7 assists a game, and those are a mouthful.
A young team, having seen them a couple times, they look like they're in their 20s, so these are big men. Bodwell is a big group of boys. They put
I
on
have
the
not
floor.
seen them, so I'm glad your eyes have. So,
That's right. And so Bodwell, Maple Ridge on day one. That's our first 8. Now looking at the other side of the draw, and we start off with our number 2 seed, and that's South Kamloops, and they go up against number 15, Brookswood.
Yeah, this is a really good South Kamloops team. They're Okanagan number 1. They didn't play, from what I looked at, when I looked at their schedule, Chris, didn't play a ton of games, but when they played top teams, they performed, and they were right there. They bring relentless energy. Tim Unebu is their head coach. Their 3 players that we'll mention are grade 12s, Ethan Thacker, Quinn Adam, and Ben McDonald, leading the Okanagan champions. And they will play Brookswood, So we saw the Brookswood girls here year after year after year. The Brookswood boys have not been here since 2006. And that was a team that had Brent Malish and Graham Bath, who both went and had great careers at UBC. And I believe Brett Laurie, the MLB guy, was on that team as well as a grade 10. I think he was their starting point guard. It's been 11 years now since Brookswood's been here. So Daniel Allingham, who was actually on that 2006 team, is their head coach. They got in at that last Fraser Valley slot, Fraser Valley number 4. So Colin Ewell, Sam Reddy, both 20-point guys. Brandon Aarons at 10 and 15, and Jay Reganet, a 15.5 steal a game guy. For them, South Kamloops has got to be considered the favorite heading into that game.
All right, that's South Kamloops, Brookswood. And so when we met for the girls' draw, we said you are never going to see a better number 10 seed than Britannia for that tournament in the 2A. Well, we might have to actually take that back now as we look at who is the 10 seed in this next game. So we have the number 7, the Nanaimo District, and they go up against a very, very good number 10 team, Robert Bateman.
Yeah, this Robert Bateman team, Fraser Valley number 2, and they are watching the selection show, so we'll say hi to the Timberwolves at 17 and 4, Verinder Braich. Their enthusiastic head coach. Of course, they lost to Rick Hansen in the final. This program has taken a huge spike the last few years. 21 years of no trips to the BCs. Now their 3rd year in a row, as they made us very aware. They're all gathered in the gym on a huge screen projection watching us right now. Nate Friesen is their guy, 26 points, 8.5 rebounds a game, 4 assists. He's a 6'3" combo guard forward. Greg Poirier, 6'7" forward, 15.5 points, 13 rebounds a game. And Dawson Davis we can mention as well as a kind of intangibles playmaking guy, averaging 5 assists a game. So Robert Bateman, who have played everybody within that whole group of top-ranked teams and have performed pretty well against a lot of them.
They're beating a bunch of really good teams this season, haven't
they have. And then, you know, that's the problem, though, when you don't win the Fraser Valley and you drop all the way down to number 10. And really create, a crazy matchup there. And Nanaimo District Islanders, they're the Vancouver Island champs. They're getting a team that is of the quality of the top 5 or 6 teams in the province in the opening round, probably. So Jacob Tom and company have a tough one there, but they've been very good themselves this year. They beat Wellington in the Island final. It's their 4th year in a row coming to this tournament. So they're well schooled on the drill here of coming to the LEC. Ever since we started, they've been here as part of the group. So that's going to be a great game.
First game.
That's a great game,
sure.
Especially when you look at the seed numbers. Yeah.
All right, our final 4 teams here in the 3A. We go to the number 3 team, and I know this is a team you like a lot, right? This is Burn Creek, and they get number 14, Duchess Park. First day.
I've got, there's a thumbs up scale. Mine is the how many popcorn, you want to order to watch the game. And on the popcorn scale, this Burn Creek team, I think they're number 1 in the province in terms of entertainment value alone. They are so incredibly lightning quick the way they play. 3 wins against the Burnaby South team that in Quad A, missed out by 1 spot at the Mainlands to get to the Quad A draw. So this Burn Creek team, they're 22-8 overall. They played a really tough schedule. The guys to watch here, there's a kid here named Bitho Wan, 21 points a game, 6'3", grade 10. He's got all the length in the world. He's an absolute blur on the floor. Abdul Bangura, 18 a game, and Martin Junga, 17 points, 5 steals a game. This is a really exciting team that's at a high right now, winning a really tough Lower Mainland at 3A. They are one of the teams to watch here in the tournament. Would not surprise me at all if they won the provincial tournament as a 3 seed. They're a very, very good team. They will play Duchess Park, the North Central ones. Al Erickson, the veteran head coach there. The 3 guys to watch here are all underclassmen. Colburn Pierce and Cody Bolding, the 2 grade 11. Soren Erickson, the grade 10 guard, are among the players to watch there. But Burn Creek goes in, I think, as a pretty big favorite there.
All right, and our final 2 teams in the 3A draw, number 6, Charles Hayes, goes up against number 11, Lord Byng.
And again, there's another one. You look at the seeding numbers there. Charles Hayes, they do what they can to get a tough schedule, and they came down here and they really were road warriors at 17 wins and 3 losses this year. There are 3 losses. 2 of them come to Kitts. 1 of them comes to Handsworth. They're both in the Quad A tournament. Yeah. So Charles Hayes is a team to watch. They won the Pitt Meadows Air Show. They're currently on a 14-game win streak. Mel Bishop may have retired from teaching, but he's still coaching this team from what I understand. And they beat Nanaimo District earlier this season. They're the Northwest number 1, so a real quality team. But the team they're playing is also very, very good, and that's part of that whole parity stuff that we talked about. Lord Byng is a terrific basketball team. And you look at Declan Herbertson and Nathan Bromage, they're 2 big guys inside. These guys combined to average, 30 points, 15 rebounds a game. They're very, very good. Lord Byng has beaten Steveston London, they've beaten Burn Creek, and they've beaten Yale, who are in the Quad A for Kevin Sander, the head coach there. Peter Gibbons, Peter Che, also guys to watch. As Lower Mainland 4, that's a really, really good Lower Mainland 4.
Well, so you look at this draw. I think you are bound to have one or two upsets on day one.
You're gonna. Yeah.
There's 4 or 5 of these games that are almost pick'ems, aren't there?
Yeah, there are. And that said, this 3A draw is so entertaining that I really think it's going to be just a action-packed, tremendous thing to be a part of. And if it's in the South Court like it usually is, what a great gym, Chris, to watch games in. And 3A, so much parity.
And 3A, it seems that 3A games, they're up and down the floor. They're it's almost developed a style of play here at Provincials around
right.
3A games.
Yeah.
And you usually get high-scoring games, really competitive, fair bit of parity, and I think we're going to see that again this year.
Yeah, I think 3A is going to be an absolute treat.
All right, there we go. Now we only have 16 more teams to talk about. So we're going to move on and we're going to talk about our 4A teams. The story of 4A really is, can anybody catch Walnut Grove?
Wow, and I'm wondering right now if they can. Walnut Grove has taken on all comers. They've beaten everybody this year, and they have been so dominant. It has been separation from the rest of the pack, especially by virtue of their victories over the number 2 seeded team in this tournament. So I think Walnut Grove has just been a tremendous force at 4A, and boy, they've been good.
That it will be that challenge. Sometimes when you play a team 3 times or 4 times or 5 times, one of those times they're going to catch you. And so whether that's a Kelowna or a Kitsilano or another one, Oak Bay, some of those are teams that are all looking and going, we think we can maybe get them this week.
Yeah, and they can get them. I mean, they are good teams. The best teams at 4A are still all in the hunt, but I think Walnut Grove, you have to respect what they were able to accomplish this season at 1A. It was amazing.
All right, so let's start with Walnut Grove. They are our number 1 seed for the tournament, and they go up on the first day at the 10-15 game, and they have Mount Baker.
Yeah, Mount Baker out of Cranbrook, who are the Kootenay Zone guys that always are, a perennial here at the tournament through their zone. 6 tournaments this year for Mount Baker out of Kootenay. They were in 5 finals, so they didn't exactly have a cupcake schedule. They went and played tournaments, were competitive, got to finals, did really, really well. Dean Atwood, Colton Eady, and Sebastian Butler, their grade 10 point guard, are the guys to watch there, but they get the big task on the opening day because Walnut Grove, their only loss to Oak Bay this year, 35-1, and you look at this group of 4 players among the best in the province, just on their standing alone. Ty Rowell, the scoring guard at 24 a game, 6.5 rebounds. Jake Cowley, back from prep school, ruled eligible, was able to contribute this year at a pace of 19 points and 11 rebounds a game. Brett Christensen, coming off an appearance at the AAA BC Volleyball Championships, comes in and averages 16 a game. He's a great one. And the kid who really stepped up this year that no one really knew was going to be a factor is their guard James Woods at 17.1 points a game. Just a tremendous factor. And he is the wild card that gave this team just so much depth in the backcourt this season. They go in, I think, as the clear favorites in this draw.
All right, so there you have it, Walnut Grove. They're the number 1 team. And the 8-9, these are teams lurking on day 2 potentially for Walnut Grove, and I think both of them have a case that they may be able to give Walnut Grove a game. Number 8, Kitsilano, and number 9, Semi-Amu.
Yeah, and when I looked at the draw, Chris, that's the first thing I said to myself is Walnut Grove has really shown themselves to be the number 1 team. No one's going to argue about that, and they're very likely going to get through to the second round. But whoever they play in that second round, that's a really tough quarterfinal. Getting the 8-9, when you get an 8-9 of this quality with both of these teams, at one point, both of these teams have been ranked in the top 6 in the province. So Kitsilano, is going to be a great foe in that potentially in that one game. Semi-Amu, the other one. It's a really, really tough situation here.
And so tell me a little bit about the Kitsilano team.
Luka Lizdek has been so good for them, so automatic. He is one of the smoothest players in the province. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but maybe one of the most effective point guards we've seen in a number of years. Tyrone Asenagwan is a young kid who's coming in and has got so many skills. This kid is just going to be a superstar. And Diallo Abalo, 6'7" center, just is a blocking and rebounding force, can dunk it, can do so many great things. And they beat Burnaby South by 6 to get that last berth. Kits slipped a bit at the end of the season, but still get there. Lower Mainland only got the 3 berths, and they finish at 28-6. Semi-Amu, their second BCs in 3 years. It had been decades since they had been there, but Ed Lafergie's gone in there and done a great job. This really special player named Brian Wallach, a 6'5" point guard, 15 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, but just affects the game in the right ways for the Fraser Valley number 4 team. Vlad Mahalia at 14 a game. Adam Page is a 6'7" forward, averaging 14 and 12. Semiahmoo, their record was barely above 500. But I don't think there was a team in the province that played a tougher schedule. They played so many top 10 teams this year, maybe the most in the province. And I think that battle-tested stuff is what Lafergie, their head coach, was he wants it to manifest itself this week, and that's what they were playing all those games for.
All right, so there you have the first 4 teams. Now looking at our next quadrant, we have the number 4 seed, Vancouver College, and they go up against number 13, Yale, on day 1.
Yeah, and Yale is a very, very good team. I mean, they are Fraser Valley 6. Fraser Valley had a lot of parity, from the 4 through 7 spots this year. Yale came in at Fraser Valley 6. And that's a tough game for Vancouver College to get. For winning the Lower Mainland and getting Yale in the first round is a tough one. Ewan Roberts, of course, leading the Yale Lions a couple of years ago to the BC Championship with Jaquin Bennett-Boire. Rajon Hudson, Noah Nickel, and Brad Braich, all grade 11s on this team. These guys were barnstormers. They played in the TBI, my tournament, but they also played in Abbotsford tournament at the same time. So they were playing 2 games a day, and they love playing their basketball. Vancouver College, one of these teams, Chris, I think you could say, if you watch them at the start of the year and then you watch them in a Lower Mainland final, Lloyd Scrubb got them improving game to game to game. And it was just so consistent, their improvement, that they are one of the top teams in the province.
They're moving the right way coming into this tournament for sure.
They certainly are, and their battles with St. George's have them ready. Sam Bailey, 14.8, 10.3 points per game, the senior, who gives them their height inside. Jack Cruz-Dumont, 14.6 points per game and 5 rebounds. Super smooth guard, and love to watch that kid run the floor. Emilio Gonzalez-Ruiz and Giovanni Castillo as well are double-figure scorers for this team. But they play, they press, they play high tempo the whole game. And boy, these guys might start for them, but 2 minutes into the game, they've got a whole new group of players out there. They come at you start to finish, and that'll be a real challenge for Yale on the opening day.
All right, and our final 2 teams on this side of the draw, number 5, Holy Cross versus number 12, Belmont.
And Belmont under Kevin Brown, finishing second on the island, but there's a powerhouse team from Victoria called the Oak Bay Bays, and they were able to beat them in the island final. Interesting team. We'll mention Nishad Tarek, Nathan Johal, and Julius Kennedy. This kid, Kennedy, scored 50 against Claremont. He was 12 of 14 from 3. He can light it up if you don't guard him. But the interesting guy here is Dante Bull. He's one of the top football players in the province, going to Fresno State, NCAA Division I, 6'7", 285. Oof. He's going to bring a load against Holy Cross, and he averaged 25 points a game. So the Crusaders have to get ready for him. They're going to want to go up and down the floor try and tire out Dante. So Anthony Pazente, the head coach at Holy Cross, they were 27-6 this year. They lost to Walnut Grove in the Fraser Valley final, so they're Valley 2. Marcus Brown is a really solid senior at 6'5", 18 points, 15 rebounds a game. Yui Olagola, hope I pronounced that right.
He is Yui, and a grade 9. He might be the best grade 9 player in the province, and he playing up at senior. He is a tough kid.
Yeah, he really is. 16 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists a game. The minutes went up as the season went along, and you saw this kid gaining the confidence, and by the end of the year, no way you think that kid's a grade 9. It's amazing to watch him play. And as well, Gabe Takawoa, the 6-foot guard, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists a game. This Holy Cross team lost maybe one of the top 2 or 3 point guards in the province. Keegan Kahn tore an ACL early in the season and has been a cheerleader on the bench for them. A great job that he's doing. That he's a next level player, and he might have been the fastest guy in a straight line in the province on a dribble. They've had to play the whole season without him. So Holy Cross has done a great job uniting and still getting to the provincials.
All right, 8 down, 8 more to go. We started with the 1 seed. Now on the other side, we're going to start with the 2 seed. And probably not a surprise here who's the 2 seed. They've been knocking on the door all year at Walnut Grove. Our number 2 seed are the Kelowna Owls, and they've got North Peace on day 1.
I realized I gave that one away at the start when I said that they had played Walnut Grove 4 times. Everyone, Howard just blew that one. But no, Kelowna, clearly, I don't think anyone is surprised that the Kelowna Owls, the Okanagan champs, are the number 2 seeds. And 26-8, and they have some absolutely fantastic players. Matt Williamson, one of their guards at 14.5 a game. Owen Keys, their big center at 6'10", averages 16 and 11. But Mason Borsier is the guy to watch here. 25 points, 8 assists, 8 steals. Has really, really stepped it up. He's the Ty Rowell of Kelowna. Each of these teams has their great scoring guard. Tyrell Zapp for Walnut Grove. Mason Borsier just is an incredible player at 6'4". Just to watch him, he's a potential MVP candidate every time he steps on the floor for the Owls. And we also said, and we'll spend a little bit of time here saying, that they have played Walnut Grove 4 times. They've lost all 4 of them. The first one they lost by 19. The second they lost by 4. The second by 6. And the fourth by 5. So if they meet in the final, Chris, that would be the 5th time this season. And they still haven't beaten them. So maybe the 5th time is a charm for them. I don't know. North Peace, though, has got a big job. They're coming to almost 1,200 kilometers to Langley, the furthest of anybody, I think, here. They played their whole season basically in Edmonton and Grand Prairie. They were 18-6 out of Fort St. John. And Tanner Sandberg, Lucas Siebert, Lorenzo Petrucci, their top players averaging like almost 70 points a game between those 3 guys. So a quality team there coming out of North Central.
All right, Kelowna North Peace, that's our first game on that side. And the winner of that game will get the winner of St. George's and Lord Tweedsmuir.
Yeah, an interesting contrast here. We'll start with Lord Tweedsmuir and Raj Bagri, a team that's small and fast. They average 91 points a game. But Lord Tweedsmuir was 1 week up and looking unbeatable, and then they would come back down. They'd go up and down. They did it the whole season, and I think they're clearly on an uptick here, which is where coach wants their team heading into the playoffs. Brandon Tabing is a 5'10" point guard who averaged 26 points and 8 assists a game. They rack up the points. Dylan Kinney, Gavin Gill, and Desharon Gill, these 3 guys combined with Tabing score almost all their points. And they really are a threat if you're not ready to stop a small, fast team. St. George's under Bill Disbrow, a huge early setback when John Micklin, their star point guard, got injured early in the season. He's missed the whole year. But they have battled, they've improved. They just couldn't get over the hump against Vancouver College, but beat Burnaby South in a key game this season at the Lower Mainland Championships. The 6'10" senior is Jacob Van Santen, 21 points, 17 rebounds a game. Justin Wang, their guard, and Louis Souger, a kid who's come from a hockey background, have been really real warriors for the St. George's team. They're dangerous because they really buy into their roles, play as a team, and they're improving the whole way, just like Vancouver College is right now.
Both those teams, a little bit, almost a surprise. You look at the middle of the season, you might not think that St. George's would be here, but they are here, and they come in actually in the 7th seed. They'll be an interesting team to watch here for sure.
This game will be a very interesting one. I think St. George's, you might say, is a slight favorite, but Lord Tweedsmuir on a given day, I think they're one of those teams that could be the crazy we could beat anybody on a given day team, and that's Lord Tweedsmuir. So that'll be a fun one to watch.
And our final quadrant starts with our 3 seed. This is another one of those teams that maybe you don't hear as much about in Lower Mainland, but they've come over, they've played a bunch of the top teams, and they could win this thing, and that's Oak Bay, and they've get Pine Tree on day 1.
Yeah, and they are the ones, Walnut Grove lost to Oak Bay 79-78 at the UVic tournament. I believe that's correct. That's the only loss that Walnut Grove has had against a BC team this year, and Chris Franklin's team, the one to hand it to them. They win Vancouver Island handily. They've got a guy who is just the lockdown defensive presence at one of the guard spots in Jaden Tucci. Kalen Scott as well, a 6'2" scorer. Riley Kronk and Isaiah Romanow kind of round out I would say the top group there. They've got another guy named Diego Mafia who's a great 3-point shooter as well. Oak Bay, one of the provincial elite, and a team that is fully deserving of a really high seed, the number 3 seed overall in this one of the best Bays teams we've seen in recent memory. And they get the Pine Tree Timberwolves, who have not been here in eons. They made a brief appearance, I believe, earlier this century, but we don't see a lot of them. And Luke Ireland, one of the coaches there, letting me know that they're 20-7 on the season, 7-0 in the Fraser Valley North. So they really took over there. And Mabon Terry, their 6'4" guard, is just a flash on the floor, 20-10, 4 blocks a game. Xavier Fleury, a really quality point guard. Landon Heine, a guy who gives you 10 a game. They beat Tamanawis to get the final spot, Fraser Valley number 7. So good on Pine Tree for trying to create that tradition. And, Oak Bay is going to have an interesting game to play there. Clearly, the Bays will go in as the favorite.
And our final 2 teams are the number 6 team from Abbotsford, WJ Mowat, and they go up against Howe Sound champions Handsworth in the 11th spot.
The Handsworth Royals, let me just check my sheet here. Mowat and, where are we here?
Handsworth. We got Handsworth and Mowat in our last game of the day.
Handsworth and Mowat. I'm sorry. There we go. We'll get this straight. Thanks,
there we
Chris.
are.
Because Mowat is a team that's on a real uptick right now. And I think if you look at where Fraser Valley 3 under Rich Ralston, who returned to coach the team this year, Mowat was kind of up and down at the start of the year. But to watch them grab Fraser Valley 3, amongst a group where there was a lot of parity. They won the games that they needed to win late, and Kenan Hadzovic is their guy, 6'2" wing, 20 points, 5 rebounds a game. Zach Plummer, Devon Bogle, a kid who's very exciting at 6'7", and Harvir Garcha, he's the kid who hit the YouTube shot that went viral, their 3-point win over Timanawis, and then they go on and beat Semiahmoo after that to get Fraser Valley 3. That's a team that if you're saying who's peaking at the perfect time, I would say Mowat is. Handsworth, house sound number 1, got to survive that knockout system they had there on the North Shore for Cam Mowat, the head coach there. And Amir, this is a tough one. Hajisafar, a 6'8" senior center, and Ben Grant, 6'5", 200-pounder, who averages 20 and 10, are their 2 top guys. I think Mowat, based on the seed number, is the favorite, and I think Mowat, based on the way they're playing right now, could be a very dangerous team in this field.
All right, there we go.
Sorry about that one slip up there.
64 teams we've talked about. Each of those tiers has their own story. You say 3A is the story of parity, and maybe 4A is the story of, is there anybody in there that will be able to catch Walnut Grove?
Yeah, I think that on those 2 tiers, those are the storylines to watch. There's great teams. This Walnut Grove team suggesting they're one of the great teams, and we'll see how they do. You can make history over 4 days at this tournament. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. So there you go, 64 teams. You're gonna I'm sure blog about it later today. It will be on Varsity Letters. It will be posted there, the draw and your insight into all of those games. All week, you'll be covering the games as well?
Covering them, broadcasting, taking pictures, doing everything. So
All
it's
right.
going to be a fun 4 days, Chris, and great as always to be here for these 2 weekends of draws. It's always so fun.
All right, there you have it from the LEC 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A boys. You can go to the Langley Event Center website. You click there, and you can get all the draws. They'll be posted there. You can go to Howard's site at Varsity Letters, and he'll have insight throughout the whole week. You can stream the games live through Langley Event Center. But best of all, you can come here and have a Dole Whip.
Best place
at the Langley Event Center, Wednesday to Saturday.
Dole Whip. We'll be living on those next week.
All right, thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great afternoon.
Take courage.